All right, so we've been exploring the yamas of yoga, so these ethical practices, and alongside with the yamas is also the niyamas. And the niyamas actually flow really beautifully from the yamas. And they're not so much the practices of being a person in the world, but really the practices of connecting with self. And my absolute favorite of all of the yamas and niyamas is Ishvara Pranidhana. And it essentially is this whole complete trust in self. So that even when everything feels like it's falling apart, that we're able to just be with ourselves and trust that no matter what happens, we will always show up. And this really relates back to the last yama that we looked at of letting go. And so it builds on letting go, and it's not just letting go of material possessions or limiting beliefs, but it's truly stepping into that free fall, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to start to walk along the skinny branches, knowing that you might fall off. And it's in that space, in the free fall, before you hit the ground, of how do you just pause and accept what is without flinching, without trying to fix or to create alternatives, to just simply be with that moment. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Fill all the way up. Hold at the top, a little pause, and then exhale out through your mouth, let that go. Inhale, breath. Feel your lungs fill up, your belly start to rise. Hold at the top, and exhale to release. In between each inhale and exhale breath that you take, there is a little moment of pause. And that pause can be a place where you let go of anything that isn't serving you in that moment, and you just breathe it out with the exhale. Sometimes that pause is to gather patience for yourself with whatever you're experiencing. And sometimes that pause is just simply space to hold. Just continue with this deep, full belly breath in your child's pose. And as you just notice the pauses, you might allow yourself to linger. Before everything starts to move again, to just give yourself that extra little bit to soak up the stillness where not even your breath is moving. And then to completely let go and just jump right into that next inhale or exhale. You'll notice as the pauses between your breath become longer, that you feel more ready to take that big gulp of air, where you feel like you're about ready to burst, and it's this freeing feeling of exhaling and letting go of the air that you've held. That, for me, has always been a reminder that sometimes we need that extra little bit in the pause so that we have that motivation to step fully into whatever is ahead. So just take 3 more full breaths, just as you are. Finding the pauses, moments of space for yourself. If you do have one cheek onto your bolster or pillows, you're welcome to just switch to the other side for the last few breaths of your child's pose. Right. Not evening out necessarily, but just adding a little bit of balance, starting to open up the opposite side of your head and your neck. Maybe even slowing down your breath a little bit further, because this first pose is really an opportunity to arrive in our practice. And there's no rush to get here. That really is what stepping into the free fall means. To not rush or to force things, but to just pause. And yin is that practice of holding space. And so before we come out of this side, can you create an intention around what holding space means or looks like for you today? Why you show up on your mat, whether it's a different reason today than another day, or it's the same reason. Of what can these pauses offer you? And it could just be a word like patience, trust, love, courage. Or it might just be something that you feel. If you have your cheek towards the mat or onto a pillow, just gently start to bring your chin down. And then slowly, slowly, slowly peel your hips away from your heels. Start to lift away from the earth, meeting into a tabletop. As always, tabletop offers a place where you can move and shift and rinse out your body. So you're welcome to take any movements in tabletop, or you can even come to a seat on your knees or your shins. But the next minute or so is just to flush out your spine. We're gonna do a lot of work with chest, shoulder, heart openers, a lot of work into the spine. And so just to kind of move through any stickiness that might be lingering from your day or week so that you're fresh to just settle into these next few poses. After your next breath, start to move your fingertips forward to the top of your mat and lower down onto your forearms, keeping your hips lifted above your knees. Melting heart pose. A couple of options with your props. If this feels too intense and you want more support, you can always take a pillow underneath your forehead, or you can also grab a pillow and place it behind your armpits or underneath your chest so that the pillow is holding you up just a little bit more and giving you that extra support. You can also place pillows underneath your knees if your floor is quite hard or incompatible with your patella. And then I want you to really feel the breath moving out to the left and to the right, and then moving back through center. So right encapsulated around your heart. Feel your breath expand outwards via the rib cage, almost like an accordion. And then exhaling, coming back home to center. Heart openers will always have a degree of uncomfortable feelings, a degree of stickiness or resistance, just as being in the free fall will. It's not an easy path to take, but it is a very rewarding one. And so even here, just noticing your resistance to this shape or to this pose. Is there a way that you can stay in this shape, but be more present? And that might mean that you walk your hips a little bit closer back to your heels, or that you take your hands in closer towards your shoulders. That may mean that you come out of this for a moment and you come back in, but to just stay present, despite the uncomfortableness, despite any sensations, that you're able to fully step in and own this moment. At the same time, can you also feel the pauses in your breath? That this pose is just a really, really slowly moving pause. Can you slow down this pose to just get in alignment with the timing of your inhales and your exhales? Hear your breath. Feel your breath. And know that even here, amidst whatever you are experiencing, there is always room for a breath in and a breath out. Soften through your shoulders. Release your jaw. And take 3 more breaths. At the bottom of your next exhale, you slowly start to walk your hands back in towards your body. Bring your knees together and big toes together and meet into a different variation of child's pose. Sit your hips back on your heels and then walk your hands back as well. Forehead to your mat. Allow your chin to tuck in towards your chest. And shoulders just drape to the outside edges of your thighs. So curled and rounded in. Any weight that you've been carrying on your shoulders, just allow it to drip off. Send the intention of your breath all the way down towards the backs of your hips and allow your breath to travel out to the lefts and rights, expanding into the lumbar spine. And then exhale, a cool rinse up your spine and out. Notice how all the tension of that previous pose has in its own time started to fade and bring you back to this neutral place from which you can once again begin. This pose itself is a pause. A pause from what we were feeling before and a transition to where we're going next. Can you allow this transition to be smoother by using these final few breaths to completely relax and sink in? And then to carry that intention of softness with you as we move forward. Start to walk your hands out in front of you. Lift your hips away from your heels and just slowly lower yourself down onto your belly. Now I really like the use of pillows, or you can always use a block if you'd like. The pillows will be a little softer underneath your cheek. So start to bring a pillow into the center of your mat, or a prop that will be appropriate for you. And come up into a Sphinx pose so that your elbows land underneath your shoulders. Just for a moment, stay in this pose so that you have a gap between your right elbow and your rib cage. And then slowly start to slide your left hand underneath your chest and in that gap between your right arm and your rib cage. So you're threading your left arm underneath. Bring your left cheek to your pillow or your block. And then once you've landed here, start to slide your right knee up and out to the side for a sleeping frog variation. Your right knee is bent, big toe edge meets the earth. Your left heel might fall in or out, whatever is most comfortable. If you want more sensation, play with sliding your right knee further away from your body and rolling your right hip towards the ground. If you're just looking to relax, just kind of nuzzle in and find a comfortable place. Gravity will eventually bring you down into this to a depth that your body can stay in. So you don't feel like you need to push or force this. If at any point the arm that's threaded underneath starts to fall asleep or gets uncomfortable, just simply unthread it. And then you can always just use your hands to wrap underneath your cheek or pillow. For us to truly step into this free fall, we have to be willing to completely let go. Almost like you're a leaf, just hanging on ever so lightly to that branch. And with that final gust of wind, you unattach yourself and you just go where the wind takes you. That you allow the natural rhythm and flow of the world to guide you. You allow the natural flow of your breath to lead you. And so Ishvara Pranidhana, our ability to let go, it isn't just releasing one thing here or there, but truly stepping into that unconditional trust with self. Trusting that in every decision you make, in every shift, in every word, that it's coming from this place of unconditional love and trust that you're exactly where you need to be, that you matter, that you're enough. Take a deep breath in and just soak up any of that really landed with you. And then exhale out anything that isn't landing right now. Just let it go. Call in what you need and release what you don't. Notice the opportunities or pauses where you've found that you started to clench into your muscles and to grip tightly. That in itself is an opportunity just to unwind, to release as you exhale and just sink in a little bit deeper. Gently, you can begin to slide your right toes down towards the back of your mat. Start to lift up onto your right forearm so you can unthread your left arm from your body, and then pause in Sphinx. Now, if you are like me and your lower back gets a little sensitive in back bends, instead of having your feet together, just take your feet a little wider and heels might fall in. If you want to support your head, you can always take a block and just place it in between your arms for your head to rest on at any level. Bring your attention into your back body, your glutes, hamstrings, the entire backs of your legs, and just let go of the tension. Allow your muscles to release from contraction and to just soften. Feel the natural rise and fall of your breath, not only in your rib cage, but also in your entire being. That there's a lightness that overtakes your body as you breathe in and start to lift away from the earth. And there's a heaviness that invites you back down to connect. A heaviness that grounds you and roots you into this present moment. If your forehead is rooted down onto a block, just gently begin to lift your head away. Make room for your right arm this time to slide underneath your chest and through the gap of your left arm and body, like you're threading a needle. And grab a hold of a block or a pillow. Once you feel comfortable with the placement of the upper body, then start to bend into your left knee and slide your left knee out to the side. Now the angle of the left knee, it doesn't have to be a particular degree or depth, just moving to a place that feels comfortable. Another option for props is to take a blanket or pillow underneath your left knee Again, if the ground is hard and your knees are quite knobby. And then this should be really more of a restorative pose in which you allow the solidity of the earth and the help from your props to just unwind. We've established that to commit to Ishvara Pranidhana, we need to find this full and complete trust in self. And I think that each of us has experienced how fragile trust can be. It can take years to build up and seconds to break. And so that's why this niyama is such a challenging one to call in. Because over our lifetime, ultimately we've disappointed ourselves many times over. And every time that we add on judgment to ourselves or negative self-talk, we break that trust a little bit more. And so this really is the work of the heart to build that unshakable, unbreakable trust. That even when you mess up, even when you make a mistake or you aren't your best self, that you still have this unshakable faith in your being. And this unshakable love that you're still worthy, even in those moments, that you still matter. And this is truly how we cultivate being in the free fall. That the way that situation unravels has no bearing on our trust with self, has no bearing on our self-love or worth. And so even just here within this practice, it's a beautiful opportunity when you notice judgment creep in. When you notice that you're focusing on all the things you didn't do right or the things that you should have done. It's just to take a deep breath in and sit in that pause for a moment of the inhale. And feel how the exhale starts to build, ready to be released, and then let it go. Sigh out if that feels good. As you start to let go of these things that break your trust and essentially chip away at your heart, you create more space to patch that up. The act of self-love isn't in bubble baths and face masks. It's not in vacations to get away. The act of self-love is to sit with yourself and truly enjoy the time. Is to learn to be with yourself and love that person. Those acts can be great and they can help fill us up, but true meaningful self-love comes from a deeper place. It comes from the scary, vulnerable place. The dark corners. To sit with those and truly love who you are. And that often needs some pauses to bring in the patience The pauses in the breath to bring in the courage. Soften into any of your joints, any spaces that feel tight or restrictive. Allow yourself the room to just land in this pose for a tiny bit longer. Slowly start to slide your left toes down towards the back of your mat. Press into your left hand or forearm enough to lift away. And this time, instead of coming into Sphinx pose again, just lower down onto your belly. You can take the opposite cheek to your mat, palms face up. Just begin to release any tension. Allow your body to be completely supported by the earth. And take 3 deep breaths, allowing your belly and your chest to just press down and find some lightness into the back of your rib cage, your hips. And exhale to release and sink in. 2 more breaths. Bring your chin to your mat. Place your hands underneath your shoulders or beside your rib cage. And just slowly start to peel yourself away. You'll meet into tabletop. If there's any little bit of movement, you're welcome to just slowly shift through that. And then start to make your way onto your seat for a forward fold. So we'll leave the fold actually up to each of you of what you feel like you need. So you can fold in a butterfly with the heels in close or a diamond shape to get that external rotation of the hips. You can fold with your legs straight in caterpillar. Or you can also play with taking a wide-legged fold with legs out long. So trust that whatever you need is available for you. And with this fold, really place an intention on supporting the spine. So less about the backs of the legs or the inner thighs, and really more about allowing your spine to decompress. So you can stack bolsters or pillows over top of your legs to fold onto, or you can always bend your elbows for your forehead to rest into. So just make sure that wherever you've landed, that you don't feel like you're fighting against gravity, that you're able to relax into the soft tissues of your muscles. And each breath really just gently guides you through this. If at any point you need to change the variation or you need to change the depth, know that's always available. the beauty of a home practice that we really tap into our own intuition. And there's a little less fear of breaking the rules or doing something that's different. But ultimately, we know our bodies best. So this is meant to be a release for your spine. So whatever shape you need to take that in is perfectly okay. Along with this trust that we're cultivating for full and complete surrender, we need to have an open heart. And that's why today's practice is really based around creating space in the chest, creating space in our shoulders and our spine to just be physically open and to release the tension that we might have gathered around that place. It's said that grief resides in your shoulders, in the chakra system. And grief isn't just about losing a person. It can be losing a normal. It's loss in any form. Loss of who we thought we were or who we wanted to be. Loss of our dreams. Loss of joy, happiness. Loss of a friendship or a relationship. And I think especially this year, we've all been experiencing a collective grief of a loss of what was stable, a loss of what was okay, what was safe. To allow yourself to grieve and to just feel into these emotions is the only way that you work through it. And so whatever you are feeling right now, can you tell both your body and your heart that it is okay to feel the way you do? And start to speak more often to yourself like that. It's okay to feel anger, hurt, frustration, anxiety. This is a part of being human. An emotion is just simply a reaction to stimulus from the environment, whether it's present or past. But to release that emotion, we have to feel it first. So before we come out of this fold, can you just take 5 deep breaths and go inwards into your soft tissues, your bones, maybe even traveling deeper into your heart center, and just allowing yourself to feel exactly as you do. This is holding space. This is what it is to sit in the free fall. Slowly, slowly, slowly start to walk your hands up the length of your legs, stacking your vertebra one by one. If your knees or feet were out to the side, you can just scoop them up and plant your feet out in front of you. And then lean back onto your hands. Tilt your gaze up, open up your throat. You're welcome to stay here, or you can always just gently wash out your hips, dropping knees to the left and to the right. This next pose can be found in a variety of ways with your props. So before you lower down, you'll actually need your props. So just start to walk yourself up so shoulders are over hips. For most of you that will have pillows, stack about 2 pillows, or if you have a really thick one, that will work as well. And then you'll just start to lower yourself down. You can use your hamstrings to slow lower. Your head may be supported by the pillows, but there's an opening of the throat. So maybe your neck is supported and the bottom of your skull, but the rest of your head is drawing down towards the earth. The pillows are essentially lifting your chest even in a really subtle way so that your chest is the highest point of your body. Arms can come out wide to a T or a cactus shape. If you want, you can straighten out your legs, you can butterfly your knees out to the side, or you can keep your feet planted and drop your knees in through center. If you want to use blocks instead for this pose, you'll need 2 blocks. One will be on the long, skinny edge, the medium height, and the second on the highest level. And similar to the pillows, you'll drape so that your shoulder blades land onto the medium-sized block. And then you can always reach back, elbows pointing up to the ceiling, to just place the block so that it fits squarely under your head and it's not at an angle. It might take a little bit of time, especially if you don't necessarily have the props you're used to at your home practice to come into this shape. And that's okay. Just move and shift until you find that place where you're able to just settle into self. This is my absolute favorite heart opener because it gives you an opportunity to crack open the chest and to really create this much needed space somewhere where we're often hunched. We're closed off, even how we interact with strangers, especially now that we don't get too close to people, we hold ourselves in. So this is an opportunity to just be big, but in a way that you're supported. So you don't have to force, you don't have to rush or push. You just gotta simply lay down in this open space. And the heart is a funny thing. It's this life-giving mechanism that supplies our body with the nutrients to keep running, with the oxygen to live. And yet we can feel it so deeply. And for a moment, just tap into, what does your heart feel like tonight? Heavy or light, full or empty. It might resemble a color, a sensation, an emotion, a quality. What I love about the heart is that it's continuously on a spectrum, that it's neither full nor shattered, that it can rebound and go back and forth between the two. And we all know what it feels like to have a heart that is so full of love and joy that it feels as though it could burst, that it could just pop right out of our chest. And we've also all felt a heart that you can actually feel the break lines. You can feel the hurt the sadness, the worry. But how incredible that you go in between and you patch up those break lines only to know they'll break again and they'll come full circle and fill up. And it's very much like your breath, this in and out, this filling up and this emptying. That to be in the free fall isn't to be in joy and happiness all the time. It's to just simply be where you are, and no matter what happens, you still show up. Whether your heart is breaking or it's bursting full of joy, you still show up. So however your heart feels tonight, can you send a little love and gratitude to yourself for showing up? Because more often than not, that is enough. If you absolutely love this shape, you're so welcome to stay here for your Shavasana. If you prefer to come into a traditional Shavasana, just slowly start to roll yourself off of your blocks to either side. Just press yourself up enough that you can remove your blocks out from underneath you. And then slowly lower back down. Might feel nice to bring your knees into your chest, gently rock side to side, or you can always drop your knees to the left and to the right. If you feel like you need any final movements, you are always welcome to take them and take as much time as you need to come into Shavasana. And then when you're ready, you can just begin to make your way down into a place of stillness and a place of ease. I wanted to share with you today a poem that I found so many times exactly when I needed it. So wherever you are on your mat, whether you're still in a pose or you're in Shavasana, you can just allow these words to drape over top of you, almost nuzzling yourself in. Please just let love in. Tell people how you feel, and do not worry about being too much. Be too much. Care too much. Allow people to show up for you. Let people remind you that there's goodness in this world. Be vulnerable. Do not be afraid of what you feel. Try to find the beauty in each breakdown. Try to move forward and to let go. Try to learn and believe in new beginnings despite what you have been through. Kiss the faces of your friends. Hug their broken pieces back together. Laugh loudly and hope loudly and live loudly. Be gentle with yourself and be gentle with your healing. Connect, connect, connect with every ounce of your being, with every inch of your patchwork heart. Connect with the people who make you feel deeply. Connect with the moments that bring tears to your eyes. Connect with the things that make your hands shake. Embrace the things that make you aware of just how lucky you are to be alive. Please just connect, because beautiful things are vanishing each and every day. Don't allow your heart to become one of them. Allow yourself gratitude for the way in which life has stretched your heart into what it ended up becoming. Do not be afraid to follow your heart. If you need longer in Savasana, you're welcome to stay as you are. If you are ready to come out, you can just slowly start to move into your fingertips and your toes. Take a big good evening stretch or curl in tight. Those of you that are choosing to move can come into seated. But all of you, regardless of where you're landing, to close off your practice, whether it's on your back or in seated, this hand gesture or mudra is available to you. And so you just simply weave your fingertips together to the webbing and then place your hands onto your heart. And you close down your eyes. Feel the beat of your heart beneath your palms. This hand gesture is the unbreakable, and it is for that truly unshakable, unbreakable trust and connection with self. No matter what is on the road ahead, and no matter what you're leaving behind, feel that heartbeat beneath your palms. And remember how it continued to keep beating, whether it was breaking or bursting. Trust that you have everything you need here to get through whatever is currently in your path. So much love and so much gratitude, truly from the bottom of my heart. Namaste. I'll give you guys a few moments to come out of this practice. If you do want to stay on for a journal prompt on this, you're welcome to. If you just have to head to bed, thank you for joining me. And have a wonderful rest of your night. All right. So if you want to join for the journal, you can, just grab paper or whatever's available. And for this question, there's a couple ways to look at it, but I really think the biggest one is where do we lose trust with ourselves? And a lot of that comes down from the negative self-talk of how do we speak to ourselves in moments of uncertainty, of moments where the ground beneath our feet is shifting. So that can be a really big one to consider. I know I definitely, when it feels like things are unsteady, that I start to quit. I like to quit things. I mean, even doing this online program was a huge moment for me, because if it didn't work out, that would mean I'm a failure, and it would promote this idea that I already have in my head that I'm not good enough. And so I tend to avoid things that place me into a spotlight where I do have to show up, and it might work out or it might not. So that's a trust thing that I'm learning, to just trust that, to just do it if it feels right, and trust that it will work out the way it needs to. So those can be some of the journal prompts that I like to use for this one. A different one that's a little less emotional, if you prefer, could also be, do you notice that you try to control the way that things end up? And when things don't go your way, how does it make you feel? So if you're someone who likes to plan things and make sure they go exactly according to plan, that might be one for you as well. Okay, so I'll leave you with those to consider and write about. I'm just going to hold some space, and we can have a discussion whenever you're ready.